and taught about this, that there is your whole eros versus, thanatos.
Mm-hmm.
And in the Da Vinci Code, you see, it's all establishment. It's selling an establishment message. And when I see a breach like that, it stands out to me like a sore thumb.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know why. I want to know why. The author obviously was shocked. The film people are as well, the scriptwriter. Why did they do that? There's a reason for that. It's not just put in there by accident.
Yeah.
They know they could have made, like the Nicolas Cage character in National Treasure is so much more rebellious. He's like the kind of character that I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
His family were ridiculed all their life because they believed in the Templar treasure,
Sure.
He just hasn't been able to work it as a sort of a university-type graduate. He's basically hanging out with what looks like mercenaries.
Mm-hmm.
The Sean Bean character is like this way-out mercenary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sort of maverick, gun-running type of, assassin type.
Sure.
So the Nicolas Cage character is hanging with a bunch of, real underworld characters.
Mm-hmm.
He himself is sort of real off the grid. That I think is perfect. That really worked for me.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that I don't like about National Treasure is the same critique I also have about the Da Vinci Code. And that is that in the ending of the movie, the rewards are material only.
Yeah.
Okay? People need to focus on this. In drama, in film in general, film criticism, people know this. It's very, very important to see what's called transcendence, that the characters go through a catharsis, and they don't end up at the end of the dramatic piece, like a book, a story, or a play, or a movie. The character's not meant to be the exact same character psychologically or emotionally as they were at the beginning of the movie when you met them. Now, if you really watch Da Vinci Code and National Treasure properly, there is no psychological or emotional development in any of the characters, not one. The rewards that they get for their code cracking and their symbolism efforts are purely material.
Yeah.
In National Treasure, boy gets girl, gets Ferrari, nice house, and movie ends. And of course, he does vindicate. He succeeds in vindicating his family's legacy a little bit, but that's just pure vengeance. That doesn't represent, an emotional transition. In the Da Vinci Code, hell, they don't even know what to make of the fact that they find out that the woman is, descended from Jesus Christ. They're standing outside Rosslyn Cathedral, and he's basically throwing some, purely, off the cuff, very, very, almost trivial advice to her. They're sitting there sort of mulling it over. Now we know you're, a living descendant of Jesus. Wow, that's really interesting, I guess. And they throw a bunch of very trite sort of, banter about what that may or may not mean. Not one of them has gone through any catharsis or emotional. It's so cold. The ending is so cold, so unrealistic. And this is again tells me about the mindset of the makers of this movie. They're not really people who understand the mystical tradition. And even though the character in the Da Vinci Code is into symbolism, there's all the world of difference between being Lee, right, played by the Ian McKellen character, and all the difference between being the Robert Langdon character, both of whom are into symbolism, and being Leonardo da Vinci, who is into symbolism, who painted pictures that will blow your bloody mind. So taking the movie apart that way, Henrik, it's like, okay, wait a minute, you got these so-called experts in symbolism who don't understand anything about symbolism. As the movie clearly shows you, that those who journey into the realm of symbols, who use symbols personally in their life, have a deep and emotional transition. So in fact, if you watch the movie again, bearing in mind what I'm saying, you'll find that the Opus Dei characters, that's the grandfather who's found dead in the beginning with the pentacle on his chest, and the very interesting assassin character, Silas, there is where you see the emotion. Deeply committed, deeply passionate. So there's a very interesting twist in the movie that the people who actually are the ones showing emotion, transcendence, human development, love even, the killers in the movie, or the sort of dark ones of Opus Dei, Just watch what they say about Silas. Just watch the little clips of his, past, and how he sacrificed himself to, save the bishop who's being attacked and all of these kinds of things.
So
very moving. How come they didn't have that type of that type of emotion connected with the main protagonist of the movie?
But do you think that this could be a conscious move from their part, or just unconscious?
I think it was a total, utterly misreading, unprofessionalism. I think that the people who wrote the scripts haven't the faintest idea about true symbolism in this case, and they hogged the script probably, and they didn't really look into this. I mean, it could be conscious. I just think it's such a tremendous oversight. here you have a female character who's excellent character, not a single missed scene in the film, no wasted dialogue.
Mm.
And yet, all these pieces that cinematically are put there, some fantastic acting by every one of them, very minimalistic acting by the Robert Langdon, who's that guy, the actor?
Yeah, what's his name?
Forrest Gump.
Sure, Tom Hanks, yeah.
Tom Hanks' acting is fantastic, a very sensitive, minimalistic acting.
Mm.
Of course, the French cop, the Lafarge or whatever his name is, very famous French actor, brilliant in the role. The female actress is excellent.
Mm.
And her name being Sophie connects to Sophia.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
The whole, very, very interesting, and the names that these people are being called shows you a lot. But again, let's not analyze the actual content of the movie. We'll have to probably do that another time or whatever. But again, I don't know. I think that was such an oversight to have such strong characters, and again, fatally. And this is done in many, many movies. It's a very big problem. It's very common in Hollywood movies. It's not common in European movies. In European movies, there's a tremendous transformation. If you watch the movie Educators, oh my God, it's just incredible. The transition that these young people go through after the ordeal that they go through. You watch Lord of the Rings, a guy, look at Sam and Frodo crawling on all fours, burning out their energy, totally going through the underworld, coming out utterly wasted on their journey. Gollum, going through all this heartache, and the tremendous catharsis of the main characters. Oh my! How do you compare that? That's symbolism. That's real symbolism. So here's a movie that's meant to be about Da Vinci and Botticelli, and Titian and Raphael and the Christian Church and the Catholic Church, and you find out that in the movie they do show you the emotion where it's due, but it's in these so-called assassin-type people. Now that makes them look more real. That, in a way, that makes them. In fact, you could sort of identify with them a lot. I think that Silas is one of the most interesting characters in the whole thing.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was reaching for there. That might be the case. That they want you to identify with the murderers in that.
Of course, I talked about that with my brother. When if I jump back, if I put my conspiracy hat on, then we're looking at that. Then we are looking definitely at something that this movie has been made by. You know who? And that's, of course, millions of dollars just don't come out of the pockets of ordinary people.
Yeah, exactly.
To get a movie made like that. So there's no doubt in my mind that Dan Brown, and I would extend that even to the people who wrote the original book back in 1982, the three people who wrote the Holy Blood and the Holy Grail.
Yeah, Bagent, Lee, and Lincoln.
I have always, maintained that those people were funded. By the very order for which they, were meant to be exposing. Because it was very important that order was already being exposed legitimately by legitimate conspiracy people. So they funded three authors, and the number 3 also is a very giveaway, that there's 3 authors. That's also a sort of a hallmark. Excuse me, but the idea was that they would fund a red herring group that they would later expose as being fraud. So in other words, you create a fake story that then your own people, it's so old it's new. It's a classic, Black Ops, media sort of, 3 days of the Condor shows that. This is a very clear MI5 British Secret Service strategy in which you fund your own spin doctors, basically. And then, come in with another action and go, but they were all proven frauds. You even give them sort of light jail cells or put them through the courts, give them sort of jail sentences and ridicule them. And then everybody goes, I knew that anyway. Let me all forget about the Order of Zion. It was all preposterous lie,
Exactly.
Well, very dangerous to think that way, because these people own the world, as their own movie even shows you.
Exactly. It's a perfect way to bury the mystery in that sense, and bury the questioning of all the people, because we have already gone through the entire ordeal. We're exposing these people as liars and so forth. Yeah, that's. Absolutely.
Well, people again will refute and say, well, wait a minute, why would they even then go and show you a lot of these secrets? Because the movies are full of certain secrets. Yeah, they're secrets from your level. If you're coming in from the middle class, from the middle of the street, you've grown up reading I don't know what, the rubbish that's taught to you in school, and then they throw a little symbolism. It's just like this mesmerism, abracadabra, they throw a lot of this stuff at you. And of course, in our little minuscule, sterile lives, we think that's all just so bloody mysterious. You don't realize, it's like Russian dolls. There's mystery within mystery within mystery, and these boys play it like a puppet show. They can put a mystery of this stupid thing. Do you know that the cult of Mother Mary is one of the most ancient cults? Bloody bloodline of the Merovingian bloodline thing they're telling you, this dodge, this red herring that it only has to do with the physical Mary, the mother of Jesus.
Sure.
You know how far back the cult of the Virgin Goddess, the one buried under the stars, goes?
Yeah.
I mean, they even do hint at that movie, hint at that even in the movie. In the very first scenes, he's telling you something about the antiquity of symbols. And by the way, Saturnian and solar symbolism is all the way through that movie, from the book that he opens in the beginning where you see the symbol of Saturn when he's standing at the podium. That identifies this movie as a creation of the Saturnian cult, by the way.
There we go.
Oh, yeah. And then secondly, a little bit later, a very, very interesting scene I want people to go back and watch, is when they're escaping from the English police from the plane. They get into a black taxi, and they're hiding in the back, and the Ian McKellen character turns around and says, "The coast is clear, don't worry." And they go, "Oh, I wonder how they didn't see us." And he says a very important line that's actually not to the characters in the story, but to you, the audience. And he says, "Yes, but people very rarely see what's in front of their eyes." Now, that is a statement that immediately tells you that the next scene that's coming, you need to pay special attention to. I don't want to get into all the reasons why this is, but in cinema, there's certain rules and laws that apply if you know. It's just like the scene in Gladiator when the character is the gladiator standing in the middle of the arena, and he turns around and says, "Are you entertained enough yet?"
Yeah.
The Ridley Scott is making a double entendre there. The gladiator is not merely speaking to the characters in the Roman auditorium. He's speaking to you in the auditorium watching the movie.
That's magic right there.
Right. Now that is double. The great filmmakers know how to do this, and there's elements of this within the movie Da Vinci Code. Now, the others, and then the scene that follows, well, I'm going to have to tell you what it is, but I would hope that people would go to it. As soon as they finish in the black taxi, the very next scene is a dialogue in a garden between the two bishops who are Opus Dei elites. The elder bishop comes, to the other, the less senior bishop, and as they're talking about their plans, and he's going to take his leave, the younger bishop is about to take his leave of his senior, and he gets his blessing. And the blessing is he marks his forehead. But if you watch the movie very carefully, he does not mark his forehead when he's saying, the blessings of God be with you. He does not mark his forehead with a cross. He marks it with an L. And this opens up the whole concept of the Illies, right? The Illies, the priesthood of the Illies.
Sure.
People don't know who they are. They need to get my Atlantis book, and in the appendices you'll find a excerpt from a very old book about the priesthood of the Illies. You'll also find information on the number 23 that turns up in lots and lots of movies. But Ellies is also one of the themes of the movie Vanilla Sky.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
The L's. Right? The people who freeze you and keep you alive, for the future.
Yeah, sure.
That company's called the L's. Ellis, right?
Yeah.
So Ellis Island, the Illies, the L's, the whole idea of, the archangels being called Gabriel, Uriel, the L bit. Elohim, elevated.
Sure.
Eldar, In my new book on the Irish origins of civilization, we go very much into what the Eldar, the word Eldar is very important. So this L, the marking of the L, and then added to with the rest of the solar symbolism and the Saturnian symbol, because the symbol of L was the old word for Saturn.
Yeah.
As you know. So, again, watch out in Da Vinci Code when people are watching it again. Bear in mind this scene.
Yeah.
And McKellen is just telling you beforehand, people very rarely see what's in front of their eyes. And it jumped out at me and went, okay, got to be very cautious now. It's just like in the movie National Treasure, the whole fantastic part where they incorporate the 322 number. They're looking on the dollar bill, remember, the church tower that's on your dollar bill, and they see that the time on the clock tower is 2:22.
I can remember that right away, but continue.
Remember, they're searching for the treasure, and one of the clues turns out to be that the clock tower on the dollar bill is a clue. Because that clock tower actually exists in Washington. It was one of the sites of, the Liberty Bell tower. So they go physically to the Liberty Bell. Very, very interesting scenes, a lot of action, excellent scenes. And the three of them turn up at the, again, three, the idea of three searchers, three seekers.
Sure, yeah.
Very Masonic. So they go to the area where it was Franklin had buried his clues, and it turns out that they work out that because of daylight savings time, it's not 2:22